Well, welcome guys. I've been up here for about 4 days now helping a friend of mine get a little bit of the land cleared that he wanted to clear away from his driveway and things like that. And we have been dealing with some weather, waiting on the rain, or just simply for the ground to dry up enough for us to actually use this machine. And we're trying to save as much of the topsoil and not disturb it so it's washing away from the grade that we're working on. Let me show you what we have going on. This has been a fun challenge, and I hope you guys enjoy the video. And hopefully we'll get this thing fired up and see if we can't do some clearing with it. Thanks for watching. This is the section we're going to be clearing up today. And back when we originally had this road pushed in, they left us a nice berm for the ditch line, but we're going to try to clean this up right here so we can start getting the brush hog and mowers and things like that in. I'm trying to keep you guys kind of level, but you can see as we're climbing here, again, this is really steep. Now we're not going to have to do a whole lot of work in this area other than a few select trees like that little guy that no longer has a top in it. So we'll definitely remove that one just to kind of thin it back, any damaged trees. And obviously we're going to have some firewood and things like that, and we're trying to save as much of it as we can. But rocks like this, when you're on grade, also makes it a challenge. We have to be mindful as to where we're pushing these guys to. That way we're not hitting that with a brush hog after this is done and planted. You see the backhoe setting over there. We're using that to rip up some of the smaller brush. We either dig it back or just simply wrap a chain around it and pull it up. That way, again, we can keep from disturbing all this topsoil. Now, this is the natural runoff that is in the center of the area we're working here, and you can see it's pretty thick up through there. So we've definitely got some work to do there. And then what we've been doing with our rockier material is trying to push it down into this runoff here. That way we can get a little bit of erosion control and also deal with the rocks, because we know we'd never have the brush hog or mowers in there anyway. The old 580, I'll tell you, there's a lot of those machines sitting around and they still do a great job. Walk over here and take a look at the progress that we've made so far. Trying to keep our brush piles as small as we can, spreading them out into an open space. That way when we get to burn these things, we're not killing any more trees. But it's also a challenge when you're attempting to leave as much as you can to find an open space for your brush piles. And then secondly, working on this grade like this, it's obviously tough to push uphill. So we're trying to keep everything moving down as best we can, but there is times you have to push something back up in order to keep our brush piles where we need them. And then after we get everything pushed out that we want to clear, we're coming back along with a landscape rake and picking up all this rock and things like that, and again getting them over to our ditch line. So if you're clearing wooded acreage, guys, and you're on a hillside, rocks is something you're probably going to encounter simply because Mother Nature has left them there for you to run over with these machines to find them. That's as big as we're going to make this brush pile over here. You can see over the past couple of days we've had some rain, so anything working its way down the hill, if you've left a track or something like that somewhere, it'll definitely have water settling in it. Give you a view as to where we're trying to go there. Off in the distance there's a 2 or 3 acre pond that's pushed in there. Beautiful landscape. You can see the mountain range back there in the back. I'll tell you, walking around on grade like this too is tough. It's hard on your legs, your ankles, and everything else, but it is part of it. We've been working really hard to keep our stumps as clean as we can too, so that way they'll burn more effectively through the fire. And we're not having a lot of dirt pushed into our fire, so the stuff will burn. All this will be firewood here. And we've got this section pretty much completed. You can see off down through there. And yes, it did look exactly like the ground that we came through over here just a few minutes ago. There's a lot of natural beauty in this landscape here. We have several rock outcroppings there. I'll focus on that a little bit better for you when we get a little closer. We'll have to come back through and grab all of these guys, get them over to the creek. We are saving the larger stones for landscaping stones to put down along our drainage ditch. Now this area here was pretty dense. We probably took down, I'm going to say, about 10 trees here in this area, about 7 inches or smaller in diameter, and then proceeded to clean it up. We've used, chainsaws, and like I said, we're chaining them up and ripping them up out of the ground when they're close and convenient for us. And we've done a really good job of keeping this topsoil intact. So as soon as we get everything picked up and out of the way, we'll probably throw some grass seed down and get it started to prevent any further erosion. Now here we're hitting 3 different types of grade. We've got the downhill side rolling into our ravine here, and then it actually crests and heads back down this side. And what we did here, rather than trying to push all this stuff loose, is we simply come in with the chainsaw and the loppers and cleaned out all the underbrush. That way we're not disturbing the roots of these trees either. So we've left that in pretty good shape. Off in the distance you can see another brush pile that we've got started there. We've been busy. Now that area had a pretty good natural hump in it because it's hitting our smaller creek here. So we went ahead and flattened that out some. That way it makes it easier to make the transition to get in here again to maintain this after you've done all the clearing. Now eventually there may be a series of 3 lakes built in here. At this point we're going to get everything just cleaned up the way we're doing so we can actually take a look at it and see if it would be to our advantage to put a lake in here. And obviously that's a rock crop there that you couldn't dig, so we'll have to stay at least above that should we choose to put a lake in. And then that's obviously a different process altogether. Come back in, clear everything out, and just simply cut in the dam and start dozing it up. Now the 555 is excellent for this type of work. It's a nice size machine, but it's still small enough to get in between trees that you want to leave, so you don't have to create yourself a lot of room for that. Has enough horsepower to handle any tree here that we're trying to shove around on. Yeah, that crop looks good there. So we've cleaned this back, and we're going to dress this up a little more to be able to highlight that a little bit. So we're getting close, guys. And way off in the background there, you can see that's climbing up probably 50 or 60 degrees there, stepping up to that next level of the mountaintop. So there's not going to be a whole lot we can do in there other than clean up the small brush and see if we can get that to where it can be maintained easily enough to where you can do it at least once or twice a year, I should say. Because you're not going to be running a lawnmower up and down that thing. That's pretty steep. All right. We're going to get the machine checked out and fired up, and I will see if I can give you guys some footage of this thing pushing around on some trees, and at least getting some of this brush cleaned up and get our logs out of there. Alright guys, I tried to roll as much dirt out of that as I could. It's not a perfect process, but it still helps because once we start burning this stuff, we don't want a bunch of dirt slowing down the burn process. So the more dirt we can keep out of our pile, the better off we are. We'll get our firewood cut up out of here and then push this pile a little bit tighter and then start falling some trees. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It's fun to be outside working. It's a beautiful day. I'll talk to you on the next one. We'll find something to get into.